Hello, students. In our chapter on life processes, today we are going to look at a very important topic, respiration. This is the process that gives us the energy for everything we do, whether it's running around in the playground or even just sitting here and concentrating on this lesson. So here is what we'll be covering in today's lesson. We will start by understanding the difference between breathing and respiration. Then we'll see how our cells actually make energy. After that, we will look at the two different paths of respiration, one with oxygen and one without. And finally, we'll understand why this process never, ever stops.
All right, let's begin. First things first, we need to clear up a very common confusion, something I find many students get mixed up about.
So I want you to think about this for a moment. Are breathing and respiration the same thing? We often use these words as if they mean the same thing in our daily conversations, don't we? But in biology, they are actually two very different processes. They are related, yes, but they are not the same. Let's see how.
Okay, look at this slide carefully. On one side, we have breathing. Breathing is a physical process. It's simply the mechanics of taking oxygen in and letting carbon dioxide out, and it mainly involves our lungs. But respiration? That's a chemical process. It happens deep inside every single cell of our body, and its job is to break down food to release energy. So you see, breathing just brings the oxygen in. Respiration is what uses that oxygen to create energy.
So that brings us to the next big question. We now know respiration releases energy from food, but how? How exactly does this happen inside our tiny cells? Let's understand that core process now.
Well, it all starts with glucose. Glucose is the simple sugar that we get from the carbohydrates in our food. First, this glucose enters the cell's cytoplasm. Then, this glucose molecule, which is a 6-carbon molecule, is broken down. It splits into a smaller 3-carbon molecule called pyruvate. This first step of the breakdown happens for every single glucose molecule, and it releases just a small bit of energy.
Now, the energy that's released isn't just wasted. The cell is very clever. It captures and stores this energy in a very special molecule. And this molecule is called ATP. The full name is adenosine triphosphate. Please remember this name, ATP. It is very important. The easiest way to think about ATP is to imagine it's the energy currency of our cells. You know how we use rupees or paisa to buy things? In the same way, our cells spend ATP to get any work done. Whether it's to make a muscle move or to repair damaged tissue, it all costs ATP. So really, the whole point of respiration is to make as much of this ATP as possible. So, we've broken glucose down into pyruvate. At this point, the cell is at a kind of crossroads. It has to choose which path to take next, and that choice depends on one simple factor. Is oxygen available or not? This table shows the two paths very clearly. If oxygen is present, we call it aerobic respiration. If oxygen is absent, it's anaerobic respiration. You can see the key differences. One needs oxygen, the other doesn't. They happen in different parts of the cell. They produce different things. And most importantly, look at the last row. The amount of energy they release is very different. Let's first talk about the aerobic path. This is the path that's taken when plenty of oxygen is available, which, for our bodies, is most of the time. So in aerobic respiration, the pyruvate that was made in the cytoplasm moves into the mitochondria, which I'm sure you remember is called the powerhouse of the cell. Inside the mitochondria, with the help of oxygen, the pyruvate is broken down completely. The final products are just carbon dioxide and water, and a very large amount of energy is released. This means a lot of ATP is made. This is, by far, the most efficient way for our cells to get energy.
But what happens when there isn't enough oxygen? Imagine you are running a race very fast, and your muscles need energy immediately. In situations like that, the cell has to take the other path. This other path is called anaerobic respiration. Because there is no oxygen, the pyruvate never enters the mitochondria. The whole process just happens in the cytoplasm. Here, the glucose is only partially or incompletely broken down. This is a much faster way to get some energy, but it's not very efficient. It produces much less ATP than the aerobic path. We can see some very interesting examples of this process. In tiny organisms like yeast, this process is called fermentation. The yeast breaks down glucose into ethanol and carbon dioxide. This is actually how bread dough rises. A more familiar example is in our own muscle cells.
When you do very heavy exercise like sprinting, your muscles need energy so fast that they start respiring anaerobically. This produces something called lactic acid, and it's this lactic acid buildup that causes that muscle ache or cramp you feel sometimes.
Now, this chart makes the difference in energy crystal clear. The vertical line shows the amount of ATP, or energy, that is produced. Look at the first bar for aerobic respiration. See how tall it is? A huge amount of energy. Now look at the second bar for anaerobic respiration. It's so small in comparison. So while anaerobic respiration gives a quick burst of energy, it's aerobic respiration that provides that large, sustained supply of energy that we need.
This leads us to our final and very important point for today. Why does this whole process of respiration have to happen all the time, without any break? You might think that our body only needs energy when we're active, when we're playing or studying or working. But what about when we are just resting, or even when we are fast asleep? Does our body still need energy? What do you think? The answer is a definite yes.
You see, even when you're resting, your body is still working hard. Your heart is pumping blood, your lungs are breathing, your brain is active, and your body is constantly repairing cells and maintaining its temperature. All these basic vital life processes require a constant supply of energy, a constant supply of ATP. That is why respiration is a continuous, non-stop process. It happens every single second of every single day, just to keep us alive. It is truly the engine that powers our life.